Speak on religion a bit, because it's something that's really important to you. It's important to Candace. I know it was always important to your father. And, I had Dennis Prager on the other day, and I never really saw how it was a cornerstone of kind of the founding fathers, that assumption that there was this religious element. And I had never really thought about it. Again, it's not talked about in the UK. It is talked about in American politics. It's just your thoughts on it, and is it something that maybe we should all think more about or embrace, or at least allow to be in the conversation, as opposed to kind of, not allowing it to be talked about, especially in politics?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because I have some pretty strong opinions about it, and I sort of think that, coming back to that conversation about Britain versus America, a lot of the reasons I think conservatism in Britain has really lost its way is because we've cut that tie with faith at the core. And I don't think you can really have conservatism without faith, because ultimately, what are you talking about? You're talking about mankind, which has fallen from grace, from the original favor of God, and is inherently flawed. As a result, there is no solution to be found in government, because a collective group of individuals will have no greater wisdom or authority over the failings of another man than an individual governing himself. We are all human. We will all make mistakes. Therefore, collective government will still make mistakes, right? Now, the left believes in a utopian ideal of perfect humanity, which will never be achieved. And as a result, the association of conservatism with original sin, with the doctrine, if you like, of original sin, I believe is so close. We must never lose our tie to that. In the UK, what I think has really gone wrong is that the UK Conservative Party is saying, well, actually, more government equals the answer. And that is a dangerous doctrine to go down, because that is exactly what we've campaigned against when we campaigned against the USSR, when we had the Cold War, when you've had established communist regimes which have tried to paint that picture of a perfectible human society. And as a result, what do you do if you cut conservatism from faith? You're cut adrift. There is a great virtue ethicist called Alistair McIntyre. He's quite well known in terms of his published works on virtue ethics. Now, I'm not a virtue ethicist, but his analysis of the problem with modern society, which he describes as emotivism, which is basically where, in a post-Enlightenment world, a lot of Western society has tried to sever its original roots with the faith-based system of rules that were grown up over hundreds of years in medieval and then Renaissance and then early modern Europe. That severing of ties has led to a conservative movement which has cut adrift. Now in America, you've still got a very strong link between faith and between politics, and that's a great thing, because it ties people back to that core belief structure that that we are not perfectible, and that we need to have another answerable authority beyond that of those human institutions which we all know and love. And so we need to look higher. We need to look above this earth. And I think without that power, you then get into a very dangerous rule of despotism, where my moral truth is as great as your moral truth. And of course, that's what the postmodern worldview espouses, that there is no great universal moral truth. Men can be women, women can be men, up is down, left is right. And as a result, you are cut adrift into this world of false narratives where anything is effectively true. And that's a debate that I've had with so many liberals. And actually, I personally think that the entire liberal versus conservative debate can actually just be traced back to that. And, that the way to kind of cut the crap with a lot of arguments about policy is really just to go straight to that first question. And I often do. And I often try and get through. I've had this debate with members of my own family who are, on the left, very much on the left. And, I've said to them, do you believe in a perfectible human society? And they'll go, yes, yes, I can. Yes. And I've even had that debate with members of the Conservative government in the UK, which worries me a lot. But, do you believe in a perfectible human society? Yes, I do. Do you believe that there will, and then you flip you flip Jesus's words and you say, do you believe that there will never be wars, that there will never be famine, you know, that there will never be rumors of wars, that there will never be suffering? And they sort of go, I believe that we can, you know, we can try and aspire and create that world. And it's like, well, as soon as you do that, you're lost, mate, because, you know, that will never be the situation. You know, we will never be able to have a world in which is perfect. We will never be able to have a world where that, you know, humanity becomes its own God. And, you know, we create a perfect set of judges who can sit above the world order and judge impassionately and perfectly about every case. That will never happen. And so if you cut that tie between faith and conservatism, you start to go down that rabbit hole, and that's very dangerous. And I mean, actually, Thatcher talks a lot about faith in her later works, and basically says that the reality of faith in American politics she finds very inspiring because it tethers people to reality, and I think that's exactly what it does.